The airport was loud. It was always loud. But Sang-hoon didn't hear any of it. He moved through the first class check-in line the way he moved through everything. Fast. Contained. Already 3 decisions ahead of wherever he was standing. His assistant was behind him. His phone was in his hand. His flight to Tokyo, 40 minutes out. And then the woman behind the counter looked up. His hand stopped. Not slowly. Suddenly. Like something inside him hit a wall. She was in uniform. Hair pinned back. Professional smile already halfway to her face. 8 months pregnant. Maybe more. Her belly pressing gently against the fabric of her blazer. She was already reaching for his passport. Before she saw his face. Then she saw his face. The smile didn't fall. That was the thing that would stay with him later. It didn't fall. It just stopped. Froze somewhere between arriving and real. Her hand stayed on the counter. Her eyes stayed on his. And for exactly 2 seconds. Neither of them breathed. "Welcome, sir. Can I have your passport?" Her voice was steady. Perfectly. Completely. Steady. And Sang-hoon Kwon had buried her 8 months ago. If this just caught your attention, stay with me. Because what happened next? No one saw it coming. And before we go further, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. You need to understand something about Sang-hoon before any of this makes sense. He didn't break when Monique died. That was the problem. He stood at the memorial, a private thing, small, arranged by his mother in that efficient, bloodless way she arranged everything. And he did not cry. Not in front of anyone. He shook hands. Accepted condolences from men who barely knew her name. Went home. Sat on the edge of the bed they used to share. And stared at the wall until the sun came up. Then he went to work. The Kwon Group was bleeding. The construction division had lost 2 major contracts. The board was restless. The company needed him present, functional, decisive. So that's what he gave them. He poured everything into the work. Everything that had nowhere else to go. And slowly, the bleeding stopped. The contracts came back. The company steadied. Sang-hoon saved it. And in doing so, he became someone Monique would not have entirely recognized. Colder. Faster. The warmth she used to pull out of him. It went quiet. The man who would drive 40 minutes at midnight because she'd mentioned offhand that she was craving mac and cheese from that one place downtown. The man who kept her bobby pins in his jacket pocket because she always lost them. That version of him. Gone. He didn't know where it went. He told himself it didn't matter. His mother, Chaewon Kwon, watched all of this with the careful satisfaction of a woman who had wanted something for a very long time. The company was back. Her son was focused. And now she was moving the next piece into position. Her name was Yoona Lee, daughter of the Lee Group chairman. Strategic. Elegant. Raised for exactly this kind of alliance. Chaewon had chosen her with the same methodical precision she applied to everything. And here is the part that makes this complicated. Yoona was not a bad person. She was warm, genuinely warm. She had loved Sang-hoon with a loyalty that asked for almost nothing in return. He had given her almost nothing in return. But the merger between Kwon Group and Lee Group needed a foundation. Something personal. Binding. Visible. Sang-hoon agreed to the engagement the same way he agreed to most things now. Because it was the logical move. And because he had stopped asking himself whether he wanted it. That was the man walking through the airport. That was the man whose world just stopped. To understand how he got here, you need to go back. 8 months ago, Monique had been an orphan her whole life. And she carried it the way people carry things that were never their fault, but still shaped everything. Quietly. Practically. Without asking for sympathy. No family. No safety net. Just herself. She had no one. So she learned to rely on herself. She was brilliant at languages. Fluent in Korean, English, French. She had worked her way into a position at the Kwon Group's International Communications Division. And she was exceptional at it. That's how she met him. Sang-hoon Kwon, who barely noticed the people who worked for him, noticed her. Not because she wanted him to. Because she walked into a meeting where 3 senior directors were presenting flawed data. And she said so, calmly, to his face, in front of everyone. He stared at her for a long moment. Run it again. Her way. That was the beginning. What grew between them was real in the way rare things are. Not easy. Not without friction. But real in its bones. He loved how she cooked on Sunday mornings. Her biscuits and gravy, from a recipe card she'd had since she was 11. The only thing she kept from the foster family that had been kind to her. The whole apartment would smell like butter and black pepper and something that felt like home. She loved how he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. Like she was the only thing in the room that was actually real. They married quietly. No big ceremony. Neither of them needed the performance of it. What they wanted was the fact of it. Chai Wan-Kwan smiled through the whole thing. She smiled. And she calculated. And she waited. 8 months ago. Rainy season. Monique had been on her way home from the office when the car lost control on the overpass. That's what the accident report said. Rain-slicked road. Possible brake failure. Vehicle went through the barrier. No body was recovered. It happens, the investigator told Sang-hoon with the tired authority of someone who needed him to accept it. With water, with impact, with time. Sang-hoon had sat with that sentence for 8 months. He had never fully accepted it. What he didn't know, what he still didn't know, standing in this airport, was that Monique had survived. She went into that water. She fought. She surfaced. Downstream. Gasping. In the dark. A night fisherman found her on the riverbank. He didn't ask questions. She didn't offer answers. She'd been hurt badly enough to spend 2 weeks in a small private clinic outside the city. And it was during those 2 weeks that everything she thought she understood about her life shifted permanently. First, she discovered she was pregnant. Second, she called Sang-hoon's private number. Chai-won answered. What his mother said on that phone call was not loud. It was not cruel in the way cruelty announces itself. It was the kind of cruelty that wears the face of love. A mother who believed, deeply, without question, that she was protecting her son. Sang-hoon is grieving, Chai once said. He is broken. The company is falling apart. He needs to rebuild. He needs to move forward. And he cannot do either of those things if you come back. Monique went cold. He needs to know I'm alive, she said. He needs to know about. He needs to survive, Chai-won said simply. You are an orphan. You have no family. No one is looking for you. No one will. The grief will pass. And when it does, my son will have the future he was always supposed to have. Don't you love him enough to let him have it? And then Chai-won said one more thing. One more thing. Something that Monique has never told anyone. Something that made her hang up the phone and understand. Completely, finally, that going back was not safe. We'll come back to what that was. Stay with me. Back to the airport. Sang-hoon had not moved. His passport was still in his hand. His assistant was saying something behind him, probably his name. He couldn't hear it. Monique was looking at the screen in front of her. Processing. Professional. Her jaw set in the way it always got when she was managing something difficult. He had forgotten that jaw. He had not forgotten that jaw. Monique. The word came out of him before he could stop it. Low. Not a question. The woman at the next counter looked over. His assistant went quiet. 2 passengers behind him shifted, that awkward awareness of witnessing something that was not meant for them. She didn't look up immediately. When she did, her face was composed in a way that must have cost her everything she had. I'm sorry, sir. I think you may have me confused with someone else. He leaned forward slightly. Quiet. Controlled. You burn your toast every single time because you refuse to watch it. You said watching toast was a waste of the one life you had. You kept a recipe card for biscuits and gravy in the front pocket of every bag you ever owned because you were terrified of losing it. Her hand, the one on the keyboard, stopped moving. Completely still. Sir, I held a memorial for you. I stood there for 2 hours and shook hands with people who said your name wrong. 3 of them said your name wrong, and I didn't correct them because I couldn't speak. Something moved behind her eyes. A fracture. Small. But there. Please, she said. Very quietly. Not here. Then tell me where. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked down at the counter. Then, with the particular movement of someone making a decision they know they can't undo, she printed his boarding pass, placed it on the counter, and said, Your flight boards in 30 minutes. Gate 14. There's a corridor past the lounge. Staff exit. I have a break in 20. She said it the way she said everything difficult. Practically. Without drama. He took the boarding pass. His hands were shaking. The corridor was narrow. Badly lit. Smelled like recycled air and institutional floor cleaner. Monique was already there when he arrived, standing with her back against the wall, arms crossed over her belly in an unconscious, protective posture. She looked at him the way you look at something that was supposed to be behind you. He looked at her the way you look at something you stopped believing in. The pregnancy was undeniable at this distance. 8 months. Maybe more. He did the math. And the math did something to his chest that he didn't have a word for. Is it? Yes. The word hit him somewhere behind his ribs. He stood there. Just stood there. Absorbing it. You let me believe you were dead. His voice was careful. The carefulness was doing a lot of work. You were alive. You were. You are, and you let me. I called you. Her voice was even. I called your phone. Your mother answered. He went still. The kind of still that isn't calm. The kind of still that comes right before something breaks. She told me to stay gone, Monique said. She told me you were better without me. That you needed to move on. That I had no family, no people, and no one would look for me. A pause. She wasn't wrong about that last part. What else did she say? Not a question. He already knew there was more. He could see it in the careful way she was holding herself. The specific tension of someone guarding the worst part. Sang-hoon. What did she say, Monique? She looked at him for a long time. A long time. She said the brakes on my car didn't fail on their own. The corridor went very quiet. Nothing moved. She said it as a warning, Monique said softly. Not a confession. She said it the way you say something to someone you want to understand the stakes. She looked down at her hands. I understood the stakes. Sang-hoon didn't move for a long time. When he did, it wasn't toward her. He turned, put one hand flat against the wall, and breathed. Once. Twice. The way a man breathes when something he built his entire recovery on turns out to have been built on a lie. His mother, who had held him while he grieved, who had told him Monique was at peace, who had arranged the memorial with such precise and gentle efficiency, who had placed Yuna Lee in front of him like a solution to a problem she herself had created. She loves you, Monique said quietly, and there was no bitterness in it. Just exhaustion. I know that. I believe that. She did all of it because she loves you. That doesn't make it. It doesn't make it. No, Sang-hoon said. It doesn't. He turned back to her, really looked at her. The pregnancy, the uniform, the life she had built inside her disappearance. Where have you been living? Here. I moved 3 times in the first few months. Stayed small. Stayed quiet. When I found out I was pregnant, I had to figure out. She stopped. I had to figure out everything alone. Again. You were alone. I'm used to alone. That sentence landed like something thrown. Because he knew exactly what she meant. Orphan. No family. No safety net. Just herself. She had been building her life alone since she was a child. And she had done it again. Without complaint. Without calling him. Without letting herself need him. And the fact that she had done it again. Something behind his composure cracked wide open. Here's the thing about Yuna Lee. She had been in love with Sang-hoon since before any of this. Before Monique. Before the company almost fell. She had watched him from the specific distance of a woman who knows exactly where she stands, and has accepted it with something close to grace. She had never been told the full truth about the accident. She was told Monique died in an accident. Which was true, technically, in the way the most devastating lies always carry a truth inside them. Yuna had grieved too, in her own way. She had kept her distance, a full 6 months, out of genuine respect. Not strategy. Not calculation. Real respect. The kind that costs you something. And when Chaiwon finally approached her, 6 months after the accident, and asked her about the engagement, she had agreed. Because she loved him. Because she believed it was the right time. And because she did not know what the older woman had done. She would have never agreed if she had known. That part matters. That part matters because what happens next to Yuna is not her fault. And it will break her anyway. Sang-hoon missed his flight to Tokyo. He called his assistant and canceled everything on his schedule for the next 3 days. No explanation. Just canceled. His assistant, who had worked for him for 4 years, had never once heard him cancel everything, and knew better than to ask. He stayed in that corridor until Monique's break ended. Then he waited outside the airport, in his car, in the rain, until her shift was over. When she came out, she saw him standing by the car. She stopped walking. Just stopped. You waited. I need you to tell me everything, he said. Not here. Somewhere you feel safe. You choose. Sang-hoon. You've been alone for 8 months, he said. You don't have to be anymore. Whatever you decide about us, about all of it, you don't have to do any of the next part alone. I'm asking you to let me be here. She looked at him for a long time. The rain was picking up. She was 8 months pregnant, tired in a way that lived in her bones. And the man she had loved and grieved and protected herself from for 8 months was standing in front of her. In the rain, asking to stay, not asking her to forgive him, not asking her to forget, just asking to stay. I have a small apartment, she finally said. The coffee is bad. I remember you think good coffee is a personality flaw. Something crossed her face. Not a smile. The beginning of one. She got in the car. Chai-won-kwon does not know that her son missed his flight. She does not know that Monique is alive. She does not know that the woman she tried to erase is carrying a grandchild she will never be allowed to claim, if the truth comes out. At this moment, she is on the phone with Yuna's father, finalizing the language of the merger announcement. Meticulous, careful, certain. She loves her son the way some people love things, completely, possessively, in ways that cost other people everything. Yuna is in Sang-hoon's apartment, waiting for him to come home. He is not coming home. Not to that life. Not yet. Maybe not in the way anyone is expecting. In a small apartment across the city, Sang-hoon sits across from Monique at a kitchen table and listens. 8 months of survival, told in the quiet, practical voice of a woman who learned very early that no one was coming to help her. So she had better help herself. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't look away. At some point, she takes out the recipe card. The biscuits and gravy. She places it on the table between them, not as a gesture, just because she was holding her bag and it fell out. She picks it up, goes to put it back, and he says, I kept the one from the apartment. She goes still. You had a copy in the kitchen, he says. I kept it. I don't know why. It's in my desk drawer. It has been for 8 months. She doesn't say anything for a moment. That's very strange, Sang-hoon. I know. Why would you keep a recipe card for a woman you thought was dead? He looks at her steadily. Because I didn't believe it, he says. Not all the way. Not once. Every morning, I went to work and rebuilt that company and told myself I had accepted it. And every night, I went home and knew I hadn't. The room is very quiet. Outside, the rain has stopped. The baby shifts, visibly, a small rolling movement under her uniform blazer, and Monique puts her hand there. Automatic. The gesture so natural it hurts to look at. Sang-hoon watches his child move under her hand. He doesn't look away from that either. There is so much still broken between them. The 8 months. The silence. The choices that were made for them and the choices they made themselves. The engagement announcement that will hit the press in 4 days. His mother, who he hasn't called, who he doesn't know how to face yet, who he loves in the same complicated way you love something that hurt you in the name of loving you back. None of that is resolved. None of that will be resolved tonight. But she is alive. She is here. And at some point, between the cold coffee and the recipe card and the rain that stopped outside, he reaches across the table. Not to hold her hand, just to place his hand near hers on the table. An offering. She looks at it. She doesn't move away. That is where we leave them. Here is what I'll tell you. Chai-won-kwon is still on the phone. Still planning. Still certain she knows what her son needs better than he does. Yuna Lee is still waiting in an apartment that may no longer be a home. And Monique, who survived a river, survived 8 months of silence, survived building a life with no net and no name, is sitting at a small kitchen table, deciding whether the man across from her is a safe place to land. She has always been the best judge of that. We'll see if she's right. One thing I need you to answer in the comments right now. Was Chai-won a villain? Or a mother who loved her son so much it destroyed everyone around him? And what did she say on that phone call that made Monique too afraid to ever come back? Think about it. Because I know. And that answer changes everything. If this story found you tonight, share it. Not as a command. Just because stories like this were made to travel. Like this video if Monique's strength hit different. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And drop your theory in the comments. What did Chai Won say on that phone call? I want to see if anyone gets it right.